Commander SpaceOper of the Valerian Empire stood before the holographic display, his 3 eyes scanning the blue-green planet rotating slowly in the projection. Earth. The third planet from an unremarkable yellow star. The latest conquest target. Initial scans complete, Commander, reported Lieutenant Krell, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Dominant species, bipedal mammals. No unified planetary defense. Primitive chemical propulsion. Fragmented governments. This will be the easiest conquest in 3 cycles. SpaceOper nodded, his tentacles swaying with approval. The Valerian Empire had conquered 47 worlds, and each followed the same pattern. Observe, identify weaknesses, strike swiftly. These humans would be no different. Begin deep reconnaissance. I want detailed behavioral analysis before we commit the fleet. For weeks, Valerian drones observed humanity from orbit. They watched cities, studied military installations, and analyzed communication networks. Everything confirmed their initial assessment: Earth would fall within days of invasion. Then came the incident in Montana. Drone 847 was conducting routine surveillance of a remote forest region when its sensors detected unusual activity. A lone human male, later identified as Jake Morrison, a wildlife ranger, was hiking through Glacier National Park. The alien observers noted nothing remarkable about him: average height, standard build, typical for the species. What happened next would change everything. The grizzly bear emerged from the tree line without warning. 800 pounds of muscle, claws, and predatory instinct. By Valerian standards, it was a formidable apex predator, easily comparable to the war beasts of Krell Prime. The logical response, according to every combat algorithm in the Valerian database, was flight. The human was unarmed except for a small knife. The bear outweighed him 4-1. Escape was the only rational option. Jake Morrison didn't run. The bear charged. Morrison stood his ground, shouting and waving his arms. When the bear didn't retreat, he grabbed a fallen branch and struck the animal across its snout. The bear roared, rising on its hind legs to its full 9-foot height. Morrison charged. Aboard the surveillance vessel, every Valerian observer froze. This defied all logic. All survival instinct. All reason. The human crashed into the bear with the branch extended like a spear, driving it into the creature's chest. The bear swatted him aside, a blow that should have ended the confrontation. Morrison tumbled across the ground, rolled, and came up bleeding but standing. "By the eternal void," whispered Lieutenant Krell. "It's still engaging." The fight lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes of the human dodging, striking, refusing to yield. He used his knife when the branch shattered. He used rocks when the knife was knocked away. He used his fists and feet when nothing else remained. The bear, already injured and facing an opponent that refused to acknowledge defeat, finally retreated into the forest. Morrison collapsed to his knees, bleeding from multiple wounds. But alive. Victorious. Commander SpaceOper replayed the footage 17 times. Each viewing revealed new horrors. The human had fought not with military training, but with pure, primal determination. Every blow he absorbed should have ended his resistance. Yet he continued. Adapted. Persevered. "Pull up the historical databases," SpaceOper ordered. "I want every recorded instance of human conflict." What they found terrified them. Humans had been fighting since before recorded history. Not just wars, but individual combat. They boxed for sport. They wrestled for entertainment. They created entire martial arts dedicated to defeating opponents through technique and willpower. They fought bears, sharks, and each other with tools, without tools, sometimes just for pride. The database revealed thousands of examples: a man who fought off a mountain lion to save his child. A woman who punched a kangaroo to rescue her dog. Soldiers who continued fighting with catastrophic injuries. Athletes who refuse to quit despite broken bones. Commander, additional data, Krell reported, his voice shaking. Human military history shows they've been in continuous armed conflict for over 3,000 years. They've weaponized atoms. They've created biological weapons capable of destroying their own species. And they've never unified against an external threat because they've never faced one. Thor felt his chromatophores shift to the pale blue of fear. Meaning every conflict in their databases shows them fighting each other. Imagine what they would do if they had a common enemy. If they unified. The commander pulled up current Earth military data. Nuclear arsenals capable of rendering planets uninhabitable. Chemical weapons banned by their own international conventions because they were too horrific to use on each other. Biological research that made Valerian plague weapons look primitive. And they'd developed all of this while fighting amongst themselves. Sir, there's more, another technician added. Cross-referencing historical data. When humans are invaded or threatened with extinction, their combat effectiveness increases exponentially. They call it fighting with your back against the wall. Their casualties become meaningless. Their tactics become unpredictable. They fight not to win, but to ensure their enemy loses, even at the cost of everything. Thor watched the Morrison footage one final time. The human hadn't fought to survive. He'd fought because retreat was unacceptable. Because surrender wasn't in his vocabulary. Because something in his species' evolutionary history had burned the concept of never quit into their genetic code. The Valerian Empire had encountered fierce species before. Warriors who fought skillfully. Soldiers who fought bravely. But they'd never encountered a species that fought with such absolute, irrational determination. A species where an average individual would fight an apex predator with a stick and call it Tuesday. Abort the invasion, Thor commanded. Classify Earth as interdiction level Omega. No contact. No surveillance. Purge its location from all databases. Commander? Krell asked, confused. We've spent 3,000 years conquering the weak and avoiding the strong. These humans. They're not weak. They're not strong either. There's something far worse. Thor's tentacles trembled. They're stubborn. And that makes them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Valerian fleet altered course that day, leaving Earth's solar system unmarked and uncontacted in their stellar charts. In the classified archives, a single notation remained: species with biological imperative to resist cessation. Avoid at all costs. Meanwhile, in a Montana hospital, Jake Morrison received 16 stitches and a tetanus shot. When asked why he fought the bear, he shrugged and said, didn't really think about it. Just wasn't gonna let it win. The nurse laughed. The doctor shook his head. Neither realized they were speaking to the man who just saved humanity from alien conquest by embodying the single most terrifying human trait, the refusal to know when you're beaten.